Hello, book lovers. Welcome back to my channel. You're watching Procrastinate with Books, and this is me, Yamini. Today, on special demand, we have an absolute favorite video for you guys. So, I've got to know that tier ranking is basically one of my favorite things to do, and apparently your favorite thing to watch too. So, on special demand by a person who commented on my last tier ranking video that he wants to see an Indian version of this, I decided to give it a go. So today I'm presenting to you the best tier ranking version of all the most popular books by Indian authors. So without any further delay or ado, let's quickly jump into our tier ranking video. So today we have the best of Indian fantasy books that are there over here. So here's the list of all of pretty much my favorites and the books that I've come across reading throughout the years, and I wanted to share the tier ranking based on a comment that I received. So if you want to see a specific titled video too, feel free to comment down below. I would be happy to engage on the content creation part of these. So without any further ado, let's quickly jump in. The first book that we have is The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee. I think this is one of her best and first book that ever became like very famous. I also enjoyed reading this a lot. It's from another perspective of Mahabharat, from Draupadi's perspective, and it's been told what if fates turned the tail and there was a different outcome to it. So that's what this book talks about. And next up, we have, I'm not really sure what book is this, so I'll just keep it over here. My next book is Namaha. This is something that's there in my TBR. I really wanted to read this for a very long time now, but I haven't got a chance to order it on Amazon. Sadly, it's not available in Thailand where I'm staying right now, but I do have plans to get back to it once I'm back in India. Madhushala, I think anyone who reads Indian or Hindi literature would be familiar with this book. This is one of my most favorite books, I would say. So, definitely a top tier book. It's a collection of poetries written by Harbansh Rai Bachchan, who is the father of Amitabh Bachchan. Many of you might already know him. The next book in the series is Kalki. This is again a trilogy, and it's around Vishnu's new avatar Kalki that he is supposedly to be taking in the current Kali Yuga era that we are living in. And it's a whole series around that. So, Kalki, I'm yet to read this. I have ordered this already, but it's still in my hometown, so I have to catch up with that. The Glass Palace, I read this. It was actually a good one, but I'm not a big fan of this. It's widely appreciated by many people across the place. So maybe you might like it. I did not like it like wow kind of, but it was yeah a good one time read kind of a book for me. Sudha Murthy's Wise and Otherwise is actually one of the best books that I've read from her. It's really wonderful, especially for adults. This one. Otherwise, her other books are more for children and YA category. However, this one, I think every age group should read it. Next, we have a book by Devdutt Patnaik. Now, he initially became famous with the trilogy of Devlok, but then again, there were some additional books as well. Olympus by Devdutt Patnaik is something I really want to read, so it's there on my TBR pile. Next up, we have A Train to Pakistan. This is one of the best books that you will see across. Definitely a 5-star read and must give it a try. It's quite short. You can also consider this a storybook rather than a proper novel or something, and it really brings you face to face with all the difficulties of life that happen during separation. And Gunaho Ko Devta, this is available in Hindi, and I will actually recommend you to read this in Hindi. So let's just place this in here. It's actually one of the few romances that I read and also loved it. It's a beautiful tale. Must give this a try if you really enjoy reading dark romance stories in Hindi, especially. You should definitely give this a try. Why I Am Hindu, it's a good book. I think you can give this a try. A different take than what the title suggests. You might think this is coming from a single perspective, but I can assure you there are a lot of diverse topics that are discussed inside this book. And you should definitely give this a try because Shashi Tharoor is one of the best people in India, one of my favorite writers too when it comes to authors originating from India. So give this a try and I'm sure you will love it. This one's I have not read it. I've actually seen it a lot of times, so I'm not really sure if I want to read it. So I'll just keep this in the gray area. So not really sure what to do with that. Lanka is on my TBR. I have actually read the other three books in the series. So I've read Ramchandra series, other three books which are Ram, Sita, and Ravan. Lanka just came out, and I'm yet to catch up on this one. But the others are literally 4 to 5 stars category kind of books. One of my favorite section. This one I've seen a lot. I tried the first book in the series by Amitav Ghosh, A Sea of Poppies, but I did not enjoy it a lot, so I did DNF it at the end. Next up, we have Sita, and like I told you, this is one of my favorites in this category, a 4 star read for me. I think all the books in the Ramchandra were 4 stars. The Meluha, however, was a different case. Next up, we have APJ Abdul Kalam's book. It's also very famous, I can definitely tell you that, and it's so good. Must read for anyone thinking about hardships in life. How do you overcome them? And if you feel stuck at a particular situation, do read this. It's very inspiring. And next in the line, we have Gitanjali by Rabindranath Tagore. Must read, especially for the literature fans. This is considered as one of the classics by Rabindranath Tagore. There are other stories or books that he has written, like Gora as well. But Gitanjali is actually a collection of poetries that are there, and beautiful lines, beautiful language. Must read for anyone venturing into the Indian language, especially Hindi. Next up, we have, I think this is The God of Small Things. A fairly good book, I would say, but a bit overrated too. For me, this was a 3 star book, but most of the people keep raving about it so much. It sadly did not have that level of impact on me, so a pretty much okayish read for me. And my next favorite book from my favorite author Chitra Banerjee is The Forest of Enchantment. This is again like the earlier one was a retelling for Mahabharata. This one comes from Ramayana's perspective for Sita. This is also a 4 star read, but I definitely think this is much better than The Forest of Enchantments. Next up, we have Preeti Shenoy's Wake Up Life. And I know a lot of people love it like badly. I DNF'd it after one page. I don't really like her writing style. Next up, we have Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. Again, something that I definitely want to read. It's on my TBR list. Next up comes my favorite series by Amish Tripathi. So it's definitely a top tier series, the Shiva trilogy. The first book in the series is Immortals of Meluha. It's a wonderful written mythological take on our Indian folktale, especially around Lord Shiva and how everything happened about his story, life coverage, and everything. He has captured it beautifully and also given his own take to it. So, do read it with an open mindset, I would say, and definitely you will enjoy it. Maximum City, wonderful book, wonderful for a reason, recommended by many people. It's actually, this would be the position that it would be in, and yeah, that's where it should be standing. A 4 star read, wonderful collection about Mumbai and stories. So, if you go to Mumbai and you actually feel that you don't belong here, read this book. Nobody actually belongs to Mumbai, but they still manage to find a home in that city. That's how the city basically is. And I hope you'll enjoy this one. Talking about classics, we have Godan too. Godan by Premchand is an amazing classic, a little sad story to be told about rural India perspective, but then again, it's like all those historical fictions, you'll feel sad, but you still read it because it's so true to the real life. Next up, we have The East Queen. I have little or no idea about this book, but I've seen this a lot trending around on Bookstagram and YouTube. But I'm not personally much aware about it. Meluha is, you know where this book is going. Amongst the whole trilogy, I think the first book is my favorite book, and it's a must read even if you don't read the other two books. But the first book is definitely awesome. This one again DNF'd it. Don't like these kinds of book. Next up, we have another book by Sudha Murthy. So, like I told you, I do enjoy her writing style. It's actually good. That's one of the reasons, because that's why I also enjoy middle grade books, and this one's perfect for middle grade or YA too. And it's just a good light read. Next up, we have The Secret Keeper of Jaipur, a great read that I really want to try. This is a part of a trilogy that I've been seeing on Bookstagram a lot, and I've been meaning to read this, so let's just hope I get to it someday. My TBR piles is always the longest, always. Next up, we have a half baked love story, which is again something that will be falling here. I did not honestly read this even, and I don't plan to. So since we don't have that row added, I'll just add the rest of the books that I don't plan to read in here. And Era of Darkness, I've come across this, but I'm really confused whether I want to read this or not. So I'll just keep it in the gray area for now. Next up, we have this weird looking book that I don't plan to read for sure, so I'll just add it in here. These are the ones I think we have already gone through. And Countess of a Fat Bride, this I'm still not sure, but I think I may try this because this looks pretty much very funny to me, and I think I would give this a try someday, but not sure right now. Now again, I think I'm seeing a lot of repetitions in here, so I'll just quickly prick through the books that I feel I haven't covered yet. Mrs. Funny Bones is one of it. It's been on my TBR. I know it's very humorous and I'll probably love it, but just not getting the time to come through with it. You see, an avid reader like me would also be making a lot of excuses, especially regarding reading certain titles. So the next book on the list is Our Moon Has Blood Clots. This is a story about Kashmir, and it's actually very good. The list of very good books is high in here, especially when we talk about Indian authors, I would say. But yes, I have a good collection of Indian authors that I love reading, and this is just one of them. And the good part about this book is it's brutally honest. Some people do find things being told only from one perspective, but I think it has showcased light on a certain segment where it's not really shown in movies. And for those who really would like to dive deeper into the situation of Kashmir and reality of the actual people living in there, not the militants and the military people, but the actual soul people living there. If you want to know more about their lives, I think this would be a good title to go through. Going up next, we have Ravan. I think I like Ravan's point of view a little less compared to Ram and Sita's, because it was highly modified, a bit more to my taste and my liking, and that's why it landed somewhere in the 3-star category. But again, that's not really bad, it's still fine. Going up next, I think we have The Rise of Shivagamini. Okay, I have heard about this title. This is, you guys must have seen the Bahubali movie, and it's a book around the same topic. And maybe I'll give this a try, keeping in my TBR for now. Let's hope we find it good. Ruskin Bond is obviously one of the best all time authors, but this one is not my favorite book by him. I think The Blue Umbrella was my favorite story by Ruskin Bond, but yeah, he is a good writer and writes a couple of decent pieces. So, keeping this in here, The Shadow Princess, no, I have not read it. It's still lying in my gray area. I think it should be here. Yes, definitely before any humor. Fantasy and historical fictions tend to come before for me, especially in the priority list range. I tend to pick them more often compared to other categories and genres. Next up, we have The House of Blue Mangoes. This is again a book that I think it would be better suited for middle grade or children category, but for adults, they might like it a little less. But it's a really good story. Next up, we have Thunder God. This is again a book that I'm not very well versed with in terms of idea. But if you talk to me about Indian mythology and fantasy series, I think there's been an opulence of the number of books coming around on Indian gods and goddesses and mythical characters and stories have been tending to increase a lot lately, especially considering after Amish came up with the Immortals of Meluha series. After that, I've been seeing a lot of these coming out in the market. Next up on the list is Thakur Girls. I don't think I would ever read these kinds of books. They are not personally to my liking. There is a specific audience that likes these books, but for me, no, it doesn't work. Next up is The Tomb of Sand, another great book. I'm yet to read this actually. Where should I place you? I'll place you in here. That's where my priority is with the fantasy series. Robin Sharma, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, one of the best reads. It's not considered a non-fiction, but I personally would list this as a non-fiction. I mean, it's much better than many of the non-fiction books out there trying to motivate you about life and doing something real that actually makes meaning for you. And yeah, definitely one of the best books. Like Alchemist, it's being recommended to everybody and anybody who wants to read books. I think this is one of those books too. Anybody and everybody should read it if you really want to get into reading. Next, Shiv Khera. This one's, of course, for the fans of people who really want to learn how to manage money. And I think that's something that everybody should know personally because everyone needs to know how you really manage your wealth and everything. And basic education regarding taxes and everything is much more important than actually teaching other subjects in school that basically contribute to no practical knowledge in real life. Next up, we have The White Tiger. Sorry for this, I really hated this story. I'll give this a 1 star. And that's basically because I don't like the concept on which this book is based out on. The storyline is also not very engaging. Some people find it very interesting. They have also been going gaga around the movie adaptation that came in with Priyanka Chopra in it and everybody else, but did not work for me. And that basically is it from my top famous books by Indian authors. I think this is what the stack would look like. A lot of 4 star books, a decent 1 star. None of them actually came around the 2 star perspective, which is kind of a good thing. Maybe once I figure out these books in the gray area, there might be some landing here and there. That, my friends, was all from the perspective of tier ranking the Indian authors. I did select only a specific amount of books this time. Maybe we can do a part 2 if more books come around, specifically around the ones that I missed and I get a chance to read them. I would for sure do the next one for you. Thank you for watching the video so far and let me know in the comments down below if you did spot on your favorite books or a book that you were intending to read for a long time and got an insight about it. Or you can also drop me a rainbow emoji in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, means the world to me. Until our next video, keep your coffee strong and your TBRs long. Goodbye.